You probably do know about this artifact because it hasn't been publicly displayed for over 200 years. And what makes it so mysterious is not only its strange appearance, but also what it supposedly does. This could be history's most mysterious artifact. But in 60 seconds, let's see if you can solve the mystery of the Baghdad Battery. Thousands of years ago, ancient civilizations developed advanced technologies that we are just now understanding. While excavating an ancient Mesopotamian site, archaeologists uncovered an array of clay jars buried deep underground. These were found alongside dozens of other artifacts like jewelry, weapons, and tools, some dating back to the time of Jesus. But among these were several sealed clay jars which had been watertight for thousands of years. When the archaeologists finally opened one of these jars, they discovered an astonishing sight: a copper cylinder with a ceramic coating, along with a large sheet of iron. The cylinder had a small hole near the top and a smaller hole near the bottom. And when archaeologists examined the contents of the jar, they realized that there was a metallic paste on both the cylinder and the iron sheet. This discovery led experts to believe that the cylinder was actually a battery, and that the iron sheet was used as a negative electrode. Because of the way these were made, we can tell that these batteries were handmade and were not mass-produced. And if these really are batteries, then it means that ancient Mesopotamia had developed some kind of advanced technology. So let's take a closer look at these supposed batteries. When these were first discovered, many scientists and historians thought that they were simply storage containers. But after further analysis, scientists came to the conclusion that these artifacts were likely some kind of battery. Now it would have been impossible to determine the purpose of these devices without knowing how they were used or where they came from. But there was one thing that stood out. The copper cylinder looked very similar to other battery cells that were being studied at the time. In fact, these looked very similar to the type of cell that French physicist Constantin had invented less than 100 years prior to this discovery. Now we know that the French physicists didn't live in ancient Mesopotamia, but what if someone had shown him the Baghdad battery? Do you think he would have recognized it as being similar to his own invention? If you want to learn more ways that ancient civilizations were more advanced than we give them credit for, stay tuned for more information. But back to the Baghdad battery. Another piece of evidence that suggests that these were actually batteries is the fact that the copper cylinders were slightly larger than the iron sheets. This may seem insignificant, but it actually plays a crucial role in how batteries work. For example, modern batteries often use cathodes that are larger than their anodes. The reason for this is that if the anode is too big, the battery will discharge rapidly and lose all of its power. But if the cathode is bigger, then the battery can last longer. Considering that ancient civilizations would have needed something like this to last a long time, it makes sense that they would have chosen to make the copper cylinder larger. So if these were batteries, then that raises some pretty important questions. What were they used for, and why haven't we found any other examples? Well, to answer the first question, unfortunately, no one knows for sure. It's possible that they were used to recharge other devices, but we simply haven't discovered those devices yet. Some have suggested that they may have been used to power lamps, while others believe that they were used for religious purposes. There's even a theory that they were used to power some kind of early computer system. Now this sounds crazy, but hear me out. The famous King James Bible contains a passage that reads, "And the Lord said to Satan, The Lord rebuke thee, O son of the morning. How art thou cut down, which wert, the anointed, the champion of Israel." Some believe that this is referring to an angel that rebelled against God. But what if instead it was referring to an advanced artificial intelligence that went rogue? If this is true, then it is possible that these batteries were used to power the thinking machine that was described in the Bible. This is pure speculation, though, and we will likely never know for sure. But what about the second question? Why haven't we found any other examples? Well, it turns out that the Baghdad battery isn't actually the first of its kind. In 1936, an amateur archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig discovered a similar device near the ruins of Herculaneum. This was an ancient Roman city that was destroyed during the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, the same eruption that destroyed Pompeii. And what makes the discovery of this battery so incredible is that we know exactly how it was used. You see, it was found inside the wall of a villa near the harbor. And just outside the villa, archaeologists found a bronze statue that had been corroded by the acidic electrolyte used in the battery. We don't know whose villa this was, but it was likely a wealthy merchant who used the batteries to power lights around his house. In fact, there is some evidence to suggest that the wealthy Romans used batteries to power decorative items such as mechanical clocks and toys. Imagine showing a clock to someone from the Middle Ages and telling them that it's powered by a battery. Their mind would probably explode. But the reason that we haven't found any more of these batteries is because they were likely made of wood. This is because the Romans used wooden barrels to store their electrolytes. And when the batteries became useless, they would simply throw them away. This is unlike the ones in the Baghdad artifact box, which were made of ceramic. Maybe these were some kind of special batteries that were meant to last a long time. Or maybe they were simply better made. Regardless, these ancient batteries are proof that people thousands of years ago were much more advanced than we give them credit for. They lived in a time when life was brutal and short, yet they still managed to invent things that we are only just discovering today. Who knows what other inventions they may have created, but we simply haven't discovered them yet. If you want to learn more about another mysterious artifact, be sure to check out the saddest artifact in the world in 60 seconds. Now, this video was made for educational purposes only. The real creators of this artifact are unknown. Thanks for watching.